today I'm going to try jumping into some Talishar.net. So I'm just going to record a live match here, so that way I'm able to actually talk through my hands. And so we're into Phi here. So today we're going to be on the more combo version of Dash. Is going to be using maximum velocity. And so this actually uses Plasma Barrel Shot or Talishar. My opponent chooses to go first, so we're going to be going second. Going second, we like to use Talishar. The main reason is because it swings more tempo compared to Plasma Barrel Shot needing to acquire so many resources to load. As we're going second, we're probably going to be trying to race much harder, so we're going to be going Vest over Teklovossen Heart, and we're going to be using Goliath Gauntlet. And there is some option to use Ironhide Legs. Maybe I might want to, especially considering that we are not going to be using the Plasma Barrel Shot after we use Maximum Velocity. So sometimes turning a non-blocking item like Teklo Pounder or Teklo Core into 2-block against Phi is important. So we're going to go with this setup. So we are now ready. We're going to jump into the game. We're going to start with Teklo Pounder on the field, of course. And this first hand is pretty weak. It looks like we could possibly pitch the... Oh, great. Okay, so our opponent's going to give us a chance to filter some cards. I like the red Zipper Hit. That's pretty much the only card I want to keep. So we're going to block with a T-Bone. Okay. Yep. Let's see what else my opponent presents. I think we might want to keep one blue here. We'll at least want to try to block down to one blue. See what happens. We'll block with the Zipper Hit. I'm assuming my opponent's going to attack with the Searing Ember Blade as well, so it may not happen. We also might just be comfortable fully mulliganing this hand and blocking with the Zipper Hit and the Throttle. I think if I were to keep one card here, I'd like to keep the red Zipper Hit. It's just a lot of damage. And we're less concerned about resources going second, mainly because we have Vest of the First Fist. Oh, and Snatch. Well, we're honestly fine letting them draw a card, assuming that the other card is just going to be arsenal anyway. So it probably doesn't make too much of a difference besides letting my opponent have more options over what they want to arsenal. But either way, it's not really giving them true card advantage because this is the first turn. Okay, just waiting for this layer to resolve. Okay. Oh. Okay, I think my opponent maybe wanted to give Snatch go again. So we'll still do the block like we intended. If my opponent blows Snapdragon Scalers on turn 1, that's honestly kind of a high risk for my opponent, especially because we still have a 3-block available. I would like to hold on to the Zipper Hit, but I'm not committed to keeping it. And my opponent is also using Lynx on turn 1. Okay. I think it depends on what my opponent gets here. I think my opponent's just trying to push as much damage as possible on turn 1. That's pretty impressive. Mousy Anger, we're only going to be able to block for that much, and then we're going to be taking a total of, honestly, a lot of damage. Okay, so there are some issues here. Yeah, playing into Phi. Because there's nothing we can do about this Phoenix Flame, which means we're going to be taking a total of... We're going to be taking a total of 10 damage on turn 1. So that's pretty absurd, honestly. I personally don't play Blitz anymore, but I thought it might still be important for people to watch. This second hand is much, much worse, but there's still some good things we can do with it. So we have a few options here. The first option is to play Combustible Courier, and then my opponent might choose to overblock into it, and then we can follow it up with Payload, or we can play Combustible Courier and Overblast. The problem is most of this hand just kind of sucks right now because we don't actually have any secondary boost cards, and this is pretty much like the worst hand we could ask for. The only upside is that we could maybe play High Speed Impact, break Vest, but even that doesn't work. So I think we're just going to... We're going to play the Combustible Courier. I don't think anything crazy is going to happen here. We honestly probably should have also used the Goliath Gauntlet here. I think we're just trying to reach 20 damage if we can, but it's probably not going to happen this turn. It's just a little bit too difficult. So then the question is what exactly we want to do with the rest of this hand. We honestly could use Vest of the First Fist here so we can actually get a free attack with the Overblast and then be able to arsenal the payload. The problem is that if we choose to do either of these, if we decide to play either of these cards, we're going to have to pitch one of them. But I think I'm going to instead choose to swing the Talishar, and I'm going to choose to arsenal the Overblast and hope that we're not dead on the next turn. Although my opponent will have 4 cards, and then we're going to be at 10. So if my opponent has any card like Art of War, we're probably just guaranteed to be dead there. But only so much you can do in this format. Doesn't matter what the pitch deck is, we're never going to see that again. Okay, so this hand's super, super fantastic if we're able to keep it here. We can have 5 block comfortably with the Spark of Genius and the Crown of Providence. Okay, if my opponent... Okay, this could be worse. I think we're pretty interested in using the Crown of Providence block here. I actually don't know if I want to filter any cards though. The main reason is because with our current turn, we can play 0 to 60 and a T-Bone and an Overblast. And if we break the Goliath Gauntlet before, then the Overblast comes in for 7. So let's count the damage real quick. So this hand, let's say 0 to 60 gets +2 from the Teklovossen, 6, 8, and then this comes in for 9. So this is a 17 damage hand. We have 1 left floating. We can then break Vest of the First Fist. Oh, but we don't have Achilles. So I think we learned we actually want Achilles here because then we could have followed up with Talishar. I think that would have been like a 20 damage turn, I'm pretty sure. But we're gonna block. Oops. Let's see this. There's a slight technical difficulty there. So we're trying to block with these 2 cards. And am I trying to filter anything? There is an option Arsenal or to filter T-Bone for maybe a more impactful attack, but I don't think we actually want to. So I think we're just going to use this to prevent the 1 extra damage off the Mounting Anger. My opponent has no Snapdragons and has no Mask of the Pouncing Link, so I feel like the actual ceiling of this turn is much lower. We're also fine playing 0 to 60 and Goliath Gauntlet and Overblast, because that itself is going to be a 6 to... It's going to be a 14 damage hand, so it's going to rip cards from my opponent. So I'm going to let this hit. I think there's very few hands at this point that would threaten lethal here with 2 cards. The only card I can think of would be, especially if they're pitching a blue here to get their Phoenix Flame, I think the only cards would be... I think Lava Burst would threaten a card from us, and that's about it. So Lava Burst would come in for 7. That would eat 2 cards from us, so that's pretty bad, unfortunately. So I think we're hoping that the last card is not Lava Burst, but if it's anything else, I think we're fine. Although it still eats 1 card. If it's assuming it's another 3 attack. A little bit concerning, especially because I believe the Lava Burst would come in for a total of 7. With the Shuko trigger. My opponent also still has the ability. Oh my god, the 1 card. The 1 card that would have ruined everything for us. So we actually still have some pretty solid options here. So we're gonna do something cool. So we're gonna block this out. We're gonna boost the 0 to 60. I'm gonna assume that my opponent is not going to full block it, and then we can trigger Vest, and then we can present lethal. The biggest issue is that if I break Goliath Gauntlet before, my opponent may decide to full block, and that would give us more problems because then we can't actually fire off the Overblast. But if I play the 0 to 60 and it hits and then we use Goliath Gauntlet, then we lose 1 damage on the Overblast. So let's do the math. So this comes in for 6. This one comes in for 7. That's 13 damage. We take 1 card from the opponent. through the Shuko block. If we come in for 14, there's a chance we take 2 cards. So I think I'm just going to go for it here. And just hope that my opponent thinks that I'm being dumb. Although this is honestly pretty telegraphed. But I think if it's mostly 2 blocks in their hand, then there's not really much. Okay, perfect. So we're going to break it for our 2 resources. And then we're going to come in for a lot of damage. We're going to come in for 8. So at this point, if they're trying to use a 2 block here, they're still dead. So they're going to have to give us possibly 2 cards or a 3 block. So this is perfect considering what we want to do. But it is going to be pretty difficult. Ah, man, bummer. They had a 3 block. Okay. So they go to 1. Which means we can keep a 1-card hand and throw Talishar and eat 2 cards from them. Or we can keep T-Bone here and come in for 5. My opponent's going all in on the Art of War, although it's probably going to be a little bit more difficult considering that they're going to be blind drawing their 2 cards. If any of them cost resources, they also can't attack with Emberblade. Our best 1-card hand here is going to be T-Bone in for 5. So let's block down until we reach that point. So we're going to block with our T-Bone, take 1. Just going to hope that the rest of my opponent's hand is not as crazy. It is not, so I think we probably should have the game here. Oh no, I forgot that the... Oh, that was stupid on my end. I definitely misplayed. That's alright. Oh wait, no, this is fine. Because we're gonna block... Wait, no. We misplayed a little bit. I misunderstood the math here. We're gonna throw Talishar. It's gonna eat 2 cards from my opponent, which is really good. Although I think this is honestly better than throwing the T-Bone, because that way we're able to still keep a pounder counter, which I think is more important here. Because we're guaranteeing to get 2 cards from our opponent. There's probably very few 2-card hands that can threaten lethal on us. Especially being at 2 life means that even a breakpoint like Blaze Headlong isn't enough to actually kill us. And my opponent has no more equipment left, so there's no sort of Snapdragon stuff they can do. There's no way to trigger Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, so I think if my opponent's next hand is not insane, I think we're probably in a good spot to win. But we'll see, it's a very tight game. Best 1-card hand here, once again, is just throwing Talishar, hoping for a solid hand. And my opponent appears to brick tier. So... even if it's Ancestral Empowerment, it doesn't target this card because it's not a ninja attack. So I don't think there's anything. Yeah, I think they realized. Okay. So they're going to throw Blaze Headlong without Go again. They had Snapdragons. This was the only card I was worried about. It was a breakpoint of 4, but I don't think there's anything you can do here. Is there any reason to block with a different card? I don't think so. No, because, yeah, anything else. Alright, this is fine. We're gonna... yeah. But I don't think my opponent's gonna have a next turn. Because this is gonna come in for 8. And it's a good thing we kept that pounder counter instead of using the T-Bone, because the T-Bone in for 5 would have still ate 2 cards, but the problem is that we would have lost it. Either way, if we threw Talishar with 1 card or if we played T-Bone and boosted, it's going to take 2 cards, but the difference is that we would have lost Pounder. And then we're going to throw Talishar for game. So, perfect. Alright, awesome. GG in chat, unless if there's anything crazy in their arsenal that kills us at instant speed. So yeah, that's one game. Hopefully this was helpful. Oh, my opponent is disconnected, but I don't know if that makes a difference. I think we have to wait here for a minute. I'm not sure how it works actually. So let's go over some things in that matchup. Ironhide legs were not worth it. There was a really powerful turn we could have had, I believe, where we could have played 2 chain closers if we had had Achilles Accelerator. So I think it would have been more important to have him there. My opponent had the most absurd turn 1, by the way, and pushed 10 damage on turn 1. But we were able to come back, Mostly with that really powerful pivot turn where we played the 0 to 60 and then used Goliath Gauntlet and Best to also follow up with the Overblast. That was a really crazy 2-card hand. Now I think that did a total of, I believe, 14 damage because of the Teklo Pounder. So that was really important here, I think. I can see an argument for Teklo Foundry Heart since the 3 life here would have been pretty good. Also, I'll give my opponent a thumbs up, even though they just left. Let's see if there's another Blitz game we can hop into. All right, cool. So let's hop into whatever this Blitz game is. Hey in chat. All right, cool. So same thing as last game. I think knowing how hard Phi can push damage on turn 1, I feel like I'm a little bit more concerned about going second. I think maybe setting up a larger turn with Plasma Barrel Shot may be better. But also I feel like that first turn was a little bit of a high roll. And so I think I'm still fine going second here. So no changes to deck except bringing Talishar, and we're going to try Achilles a second time. So same setup as the previous game. Of course, starting with Pounder on the field, and we're just gonna hope that yeah, my opponent can't high roll me on turn 1. All right, we're in. Pounder. This hand right here is actually really strong. We're able to go high speed impact and a T-bone and an Overblast if my opponent doesn't push anything here. Out of all the cards I want to block down to, I think I'd want to block down to either High Speed Impact or Overblast, although it is kind of a danger having 6 chain closers to keep 1 card with Overblast, because if we draw like a payload or something in the next hand, then it's pretty much like unplayable. So I might actually want to block with this card first. So what are we looking to do here? So our hand could be 6 with Teklo Pounder on High Speed Impact, so 6 and a 2, so 8 damage. And if we break Goliath Gauntlet, then into 9, so 17 damage right there. We could then break Vest of the First Fist and Achilles and also swing Talishar, so this is actually a 21 damage hand. Believe so, because 8, 17, 21. So this is a 21 damage hand. We break all 3 of our equipment, but it's not look like that's going to be the case. I'll block with these 2 cards first, since these ones are probably the worst. Even though that hand with Overblast would have been really strong, there's probably a good chance we're going to draw into a card like Payload or like Overblast in the next hand, or maybe even Maximum Velocity. At this point, I believe I will be blocking with the T-Bone. High Speed Impact is really strong, but my guess is we're also going to be blocking with High Speed Impact this turn as well. My opponent is noticeably on Mask Momentum and Flamescale Furnace, which is pretty interesting. And I think I'm just learning I might honestly want to go first into Phi. The amount of damage they just present on turn 1 is crazy. Alright, so just like we predicted, we drew into the maximum velocity. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to boost out Zipper Hit into 0 to 60, and then we're going to throw Talishar at the very end. And we're going to hope that we're not down the following turn and we're able to play a maximum velocity, especially with Vest. I think we'll have a good chance to do it. Boost and Overblast, that's already great for us. That reduces the amount of non-go again attacks that are also expensive in red cards, so it looks like Maximum Velocity maybe has a chance to fire. Which is great. Now we'll figure out what my opponent wants to do. Flamescale Furnace and Mass Momentum is honestly pretty interesting. I'm interested to see if they try blocking us out here. Oh, nope, they are not interested at all. Nope, we're not gonna do that. We'll send this for 2. So my opponent says no blocks here. We get them down to 8. So any hand that can fire off maximum velocity is lethal, pretty much. Even through blocks, probably. The only thing is that we do have a pretty nice way out, because if the next hand bricks really hard, and if our opponent like threatens Mask and a ton of damage, we can Crown of Providence and we can filter out the maximum velocity and draw a new one, which is really great. But we'll get there when we get there. Okay. All right. So this hand currently cannot play maximum velocity. It was unfortunate, but it can do some pretty cool stuff. But I think there's a good chance we're probably going to want to use... So how hard do we pressure here on the next turn? I guess the question is whether or not I want to just keep a smaller hand and throw Zipperhead into payload. That still threatens lethal, which is still going to get a card from them. I think I'm comfortable doing that. We're going to shut off their mask probably for the turn. Depends on what they follow up with. There's a good chance they present enough chain links to still get mask value, although we can maybe use Crown of Providence, but this hand would come in for 7 and then 8, the Teklovossen if we use the Goliath Gauntlet before. And then if it hits, we can vest into Talishar. Wow, okay, actually, wait, this hand is crazy. I think we just say no blocks at this point. I don't think there's... Did this come from Arsenal? This was from Arsenal, so our opponent Arsenal and a Flame on turn 1. I don't think there's any way we die. And this hand might just actually kill them immediately. I'm going to block here to deny their mask value, and then we're actually going to filter out the maximum velocity. I think we just win. It's crazy. Okay, this hand is noticeably worse, but it's fine. It just means we don't have to break Vest to my opponent. Okay. I want to close a combat chain. Interesting. I wonder if it's another Rise from the Ashes. Yeah, makes sense. This one's going to come in for 4, I believe. I know there's no previous chain link. I guess it's whether or not shoot goes on. Okay, it's going to Arsenal that card. Alright, so my opponent's about to get absolutely demolished here. So, I think we throw the Zipper hit. We could honestly break Vest. We could, this is really dumb, but we could even break Vest to play the Teklovossen, but that's definitely not correct. It doesn't matter, we're gonna be pitching all these cards anyway. Because we drew another blue. It would have been nice if it was a 0-cost attack. I think if it was a 0-cost attack, we would have just had lethal. It's gonna be very difficult for my opponent to make it out of this one. Especially with us still being at 15 life. It's gonna be pretty hard. Okay, they let it hit, so that just means that the payload comes in for 8 here. It's gonna be very difficult for them to stop. Wow, I think they also might just be dead to it. They're dead to it unless if they give me every single armor piece and a 3 block. That's the only way they don't die to this payload for 8. Okay. So we catch them without a 3 block, we just win on the spot right here. And if they do have a 3 block, they go to 1. Oh no, they don't take any damage here, but we're gonna eat 1 more card off of the Talishar swing. This is still really good. Our opponent goes down to 3 cards. They have no armor, they have 3 health, we still have Vest and Teklovossen still. Ooh, and they're trying to go to 1. That's even worse for them. Okay, so we'll break Achilles, get an action point. Honestly, I was even considering breaking Vest so that way we could Arsenal the Zipper hit. Keeps us on a pretty tight hand next turn. We keep a blue pitch and go Zipper it for 5 with Teklovossen. My opponent just decides to scoop it up there. But if another Icelander joins and they go first, we know what we're doing. Alright, Ira is very different. Ira is entirely different. So in Ira, we're going to be running probably Foundry Heart and Crown of Providence. We're going to need the Foundry Heart to block Kodachis. It's going to be pretty important. Ira's going first, so we're going second. It depends on if she's going to be trying to fatigue us or not. I think it's kind of dangerous, so I might just want to go barrel shot here. Ira can fatigue pretty well, so pretty dangerous. So with Ira, oh, and I think, oh, we have an insane turn 1. So we're gonna pitch down these 2 cards. Oh, that's so nice. Thanks, dude. All right, hopefully we can combo them. Hopefully we can just be super rude. So we got our Teklovossen, we got our maximum velocity, we have our plasma barrel shot. The only problem is we just got a hand that does absolutely nothing. So we're gonna pass here, no blocks. We're gonna block the second Kodachi, or it's gonna be a Zephyr Needle. Zephyr Needle works here, but we just have so many 3 blocks, it probably doesn't actually make a difference. I think I want to 1, 2, 3. This sucks. There's just no way to. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to block down with some cards, and then I'm going to play the Spark of Genius, and I'm going to tutor out a second Tekla Pounder, and we're just going to go absolutely crazy. Winds of Eternity doesn't have Go again, but also there's not much reason for me to actually keep this last card, so I think I'd rather just preserve the life total here. So the 2 resources, we're gonna have 4. Go second Tekla Pounder. This hand, once again, doesn't actually like turn on maximum velocity, unfortunately. So no blocks here. Although I will say Needle is considerably more obnoxious because it means that we can't just cleanly block the Tekla Foundry Heart. I'm trying to think of, so we have 1, 2, oh wait, maybe we can actually. 1, 2, 3. With that, with Foundry Heart we can. With Foundry Heart we can actually go off. So I think I will actually block here. Find center. Not have Go again. I'm assuming my opponent's probably holding things like defense reactions, so we're gonna come in with this high speed impact. We're gonna boost. We're gonna threaten dominate here. It's not gonna matter, but yep. And we're gonna get red flick flacked. Sink below. All right, we're on a very defensive list of Ira. So that was kind of also part of the concern, was wanting to slow down the game a little bit. We don't want our deck to go too low. What did you Shuko? We'll boost. Fortunately, T-Bone doesn't rip anything important, mainly because they have Snapdragon Scalers, so they can just throw those in front, not really lose anything. We maybe could have blocked with Crown and Foundry Heart and cycled the maximum velocity, because maybe Overblast would have been better, considering we have Barrel Shot, but I think having Barrel Shot, we're in a pretty good spot for a follow-up turn after this. What do we boost so far? All right, nothing too crazy. Okay, wow, that's actually very relevant here. Foundry Heart, which means I get to draw a card, unfortunately. And then we are going to Goliath Gauntlet. And we're going to throw maximum velocity for 12, but there's a good chance they're able to fully block it here. That all you got was pretty big. Because having that extra turn, or that extra card here is pretty important. So let's see what they have. Oh wow, okay. Take a bunch of it. So it's gonna be noticeably harder for my opponent to fatigue me here. I think maybe they could have tried, although we also have a setup that makes it pretty difficult for them to actually do that. So I think at this point, I'm probably not gonna say any blocks here. I doubt that my opponent's gonna be able to present anything that's super impactful to my turn. Okay. So you're going to resource off Tunic. They might be following up with Flying Kick here. Yep, Flying Kick for 7. Going to 5 here is pretty big. I should probably be a little bit careful with my life total. I think we're fine blocking with this card. Or maybe... I think we're fine blocking with this card here. That way we can keep this high speed impact in the zipper hit hand. Okay. It's gonna be difficult, but hit a pretty strong hand. High speed impact coming in for lethal is also pretty good. I still do have 3 blocks, so they're essentially at 11 life, but we're essentially at 12 life. We still have both of these. Nice. Wow. That's pretty sick. All right, we got Turtle Ira here. Honestly, this is gonna seem strange. I think at this point, knowing how much of their hand they're keeping, I'm gonna Arsenal the zipper hit so that way I can filter it with Crown of Providence. It's a pretty weak attack. Oh, perfect. Wow. We're gonna take this. This fires off maximum velocity if we can hit a blue. Question is whether or not I want to block the first or the second Kodachi. I think the second one's just gonna be better to block here. Any kind of CNC effect is really gonna suck. Although we can just negate it right now. And we're gonna filter out the current arsenal. That's unfortunate. A Torn of Tempo, bummer. Well, normally I wouldn't care, but going to 2 is pretty risky. And also this hand doesn't really do much. So let's see here. If we pitch both of these 2 cards, we can't actually play anything. If we pitch these 3, we have access to a pretty strong hand if they don't have a really strong follow-up. Although we could get blown out here, but we're willing to walk into it, I think. See what the last card is. Okay. So I think we're gonna pitch the maximum velocity and the zipper hit to attack with these 3 into barrel shot. So we're gonna come in for 10. So hopefully this might be enough to close out the game. Or at least rip enough cards in my opponent. Although honestly with all the D-reacts are on, there's a good chance we're able to still live through this turn pretty well. Okay. Yeah. Oh wow. Wow. So that didn't connect. Well, that's pretty big, honestly. We might be in a good spot here. We're just really looking to pivot to that lower life total. So once we start ripping cards, it's easier for us to close out the game. I think if this isn't a defense reaction, I think we have a chance to win. Although I think my opponent would have played the last card if it was an attack. Yeah, Oasis. Oh, but they were forced to use a card. Wow. So that's pretty big. I think we have it here. Let's see. But we're gonna follow with barrel shot for 4. So if this last card is not a defense reaction, then I think we just have it here. We got it. Great. Wow. Fantastic stuff. Okay. So we played a few games of Blitz. What have we learned? We've learned that Dash is still pretty solid in Blitz, honestly. She still feels very strong. She still feels like she can swing tempo a lot. Her biggest downside, honestly, is probably the risk to fatigue is pretty big, especially if you're gonna have heroes like Oldhim or heroes like Kasai or even Dorinthia sometimes. This list was more targeted at fatigue heroes because of the fact that you can set up very slowly with barrel shot and with the maximum velocities. I don't think a single deck tried to fatigue us today. I think what's more important is that if this is a list that's supposed to be a little bit slower and more like a combo based version so it can deal with fatigue, then the fact we were, I believe, 3-0 into 3 aggro decks is pretty important. Well, the Ira deck was definitely a little bit more tanky. I think they maybe could have tried to full block us and we may have had some problems, especially with the density of 3 blocks and 4 blocks in that deck, especially on Oasis as well. But I think regardless, I think we still would have been able to go tall enough, even if they full blocked. Like even full blocking that last turn, they still took a bunch of damage. I think we're okay. So that version is supposed to do well in the slower format. So I think today we just showcased a little bit of the power of it, even if you play it racing other aggro decks. So the list is probably good, but next time I'll test out the high octane build. But thank you for watching.